One of the things that we begin to understand more clearly as we meditate regularly is the separation or difference between mind and body. We say nama and rupa, citta and rupa. I think for most people, normally growing up in the world, not having heard the Dhamma, not practicing meditation, one just takes it for granted that mind and body are part of the same thing. And they're certainly very closely linked, of course. But as you cultivate more mindfulness and then investigate and observe the truth, that separation between nama and rupa becomes clearer. One understanding that arises is that the body is very much the vehicle or the servant of the mind. We use our body to do things, sometimes very extreme acts of good and evil, more often just very small, more mundane acts in daily life. But the mind or the citta is always using the body to do things. Even if you're sitting still, you're still using the body. Just a desire to stay alive means you breathe in, breathe out all the time. Then you use your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, touch, and of course thinking, which also is requiring the body because you need memory and a brain. So one way the Buddha gave us to understand this better is to keep reflecting on karma. Karma means intentional action. You're looking at the kind of karma you're making every day, the intentions behind actions, the quality of those intentions, whether they're skillful or unskillful. But then also the results of karma. Because all that karma we make, greater or smaller, is bringing results. Many of those results we can observe quite easily, quite quickly. Some aspects of karma, of course, are more hidden. They take time to become obvious, maybe a long time. So the process of cause and result is forgotten or missed, perhaps. When you come back and look at your body, you see, well, this is the result of karma, how your body is. We spend a lot of time talking about health and well-being. And nowadays perhaps there's almost too much information available. It can be quite confusing what is the best diet, the best way to exercise. But the basic idea of looking after your body, keeping it healthy, most people understand the basic intention, and that is an intention as well. But how to go about it, that's where we can get confused. But over time, generally, we have much more information, many more ways to look after our body and keep it healthy than people in the past. If we get sick, we have medicines, we have doctors, we have hospitals. That's also the result of karma. Good karma. When you've got a pain or sickness, you can go try and get it fixed. Get your vehicle fixed, like you get the car fixed. But how well they fix it and how well the medicine works will again depend on karma. Sometimes there's obstacles or hidden problems. But the simple idea is this body is the product of karma, and we're affecting it all the time, how we look after it, what we eat, what we do. If we take risks, then there's always the danger of accident, injury. Sometimes even without taking risks, accident, injury comes our way, and that's karma. Sometimes karma is more subtle, just different habits we do. Like say you sit at a computer for many hours a day, you might think you're not doing anything other than just working, doing a job, looking at a screen, but that affects your body. It affects your eyes, the nervous system, the brain, your posture. Maybe if you sit in the same posture over and over again, can gradually change your body or affect your body. The posture, the hand position, repeated action. This is also karma. When we talk about karma, we often think in terms of the extremes. So when something really bad happens, we say, oh, my karma. Or something really good happens, oh, my karma. And we often miss these small bits in between, which can actually be more relevant, more important to us. So when you practice mindfulness, you start noticing things like posture and activity, and then the states of mind that lie behind your action. And just walking meditation, say, walking back and forth is a fairly simple activity. It is also karma. Your mind is aiming to bring out mindfulness, maybe understand some Dhamma. But you notice how one day you're walking back and forth and you feel very happy, relaxed. The thoughts arising perhaps are more positive. Then another day you're walking back and forth, maybe in the same place, the same sort of time, but a different mood is there. You're feeling stressed or irritated or sad or desiring something that's stirring you up. But as you bring up mindfulness, you're getting an understanding or an insight into mind and body, and then karma at work, both the intention and then also results of karma. And you can reflect back on your life as much as you can remember, certainly the recent past, the last few days, last few weeks. Like today is the last day of the year for the calendar, so you can reflect back on your year, the different kinds of karma you make. Say the highs and lows, the highs of 2023, the lows of 2023. Much of that may be just out there in the world, because we receive through the media all the information of the world. But actually more important is your own karma. What kind of karma did you make this last year? Good and bad. What kind of results came to you that you can notice? And the Buddhist path, the Noble Eightfold Path, gives you a way to reflect on that. We call it Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So, this last year, how was your practice of Sila? That's a big part of karma. What we use this body to do, and then the intentions, the mental states lying behind how we use the body. Were we making good karma, meaning living, speaking, acting in an ethical, moral way, not harming others, not harming ourselves? Or were we doing things that did bring harm to ourselves or others? You can do your own review of 2023, and you don't have to tell anyone if you're feeling embarrassed about the mistakes, but for your own knowledge and learning. You might observe karma at work, how your behavior was, say, in accordance with the 5 precepts, or even on retreat like now, the 8 precepts as well. Or if you've been a monk or a novice monk, 10 precepts, 227 precepts. How did your practice of that go over the last year? What results can you see? Because a year is a long time. You may be able to observe trends, habits. One day is a very short period of time. Although you still can understand things in one day or even just in one moment, but over a year you might be able to see things. So perhaps you might notice where you don't keep the precepts so well in some area and how it's affected you. Regrets, sadness, trouble, problems with other people is a common one, but sometimes just with ourselves. Sometimes it's harder to see the success, the goodness of the practice, because it's so subtle. You keep the 5 precepts for a day, maybe nothing much happens because you're living quite peacefully. You're not really hurting or harming anyone. So your day is fairly quiet, so that you might not notice it. And the Buddha encouraged us to reflect on Sila, practice Sila Anusati, recollection of Sila, because we often miss it. You might have kept the 5 precepts fairly well throughout the whole year, but you forget that, or you don't realize it. But if you did, that will be having a good effect on your citta, on your mind, on the kind of nama, dhamma arising, and in your body as well. Nama and rupa constantly displaying the results of past karma. The 5 khandhas, they're the results of past karma from day one, when you're born, right through to when you die. What you do is coming back to you, and it's the 5 khandhas that show you if you're looking, if you're observing. When a human being dies, they call it the breaking up of the 5 khandhas. In this body, the feelings, the perceptions, the memories, the thought formations, and so on. They will never be around again after you die in this way. There may be causal links from one life to another, but you'll never appear like this again. They can't do it with AI or computer-generated people. Make your clone for next life. It sounds interesting, but it can't be done. And really, the khandhas are constantly reflecting karma that we make through our life all the time, and they're constantly changing. So you see that in your body. The obvious change is aging. We age every day. And there's nothing you can do about that. But also just how you feel, some of the illnesses and things we encounter, you can see how they've come up through our actions. And then our state of mind is also affecting the body from day to day. So if you keep the 5 precepts, generally it brings you a sense of well-being, no regrets. That's a way that you can notice when you're observing with mindfulness and investigating. You can see the kind of relaxed, good feelings, physical feelings, mental feelings, and the various good results of living an ethical, moral life with integrity, without harming others. You can even see that reflected in the physical body. Sometimes in ways like complexion and how somebody appears, somebody who keeps the precepts looks a certain way. I don't mean the physical appearance, but it's not like the shape of their nose or the colour of their hair or something. It's more just as a demeanour that comes from keeping precepts. Generally there's less tension, stress in the body. Sometimes you can sense that. On the level of the mind it's even more clear, but you have to be able to observe that, and that's not so obvious. And the mind is more radiant, more peaceful, less stress. The kind of thoughts coming up as a result of karma are more positive. You can reflect back on the past year, and that's just one area of karma you can look at, say precepts, and how well your practice was going in terms of relating to other people, your speech, your actions. Meditation, of course, is a very powerful, good karma. So if you put effort into practicing meditation, mindfulness, listening to the Dhamma, chanting, all of these you might call part of meditation over the past year, they will also have had their effect. And perhaps you can notice that. Maybe you're more at peace, more at ease within yourself. Maybe less stress, less worries, less irritation. Attitudes change, don't they, through a year. Of course, when external conditions are challenging, puts pressure on us, so we feel more stressed. But how you're coping with the difficulties of life, the challenges of life, you can observe that over a period of time. You might notice, say, if you practice meditation regularly and your mindfulness improves, even if only a little, when you face some pain like illness or some injury, your attitude changes. You're much more aware of just keeping the mind calm, reflecting on impermanence, on cause and effect, on not self, rather than getting lost in the emotional reaction. Oh, I'm ill, feeling sorry for yourself and blaming the world and looking for all kinds of ways to distract yourself or get people's attention or whatever it is that you may have done before when you were ill. Perhaps through meditation you realize you don't need to do all that. You can just be at peace, knowing the condition and also reflecting on impermanence. Illness is just illness. This is an insight into not self. When your mind is more calm, the mindfulness is there, you don't take the symptoms of the illness or the injury so personally. Don't make a big problem out of it in your mind, but you just know, oh, it's like this. It's not the best, but it's just like this. Maybe you can accept it better, and we say rise above it with mindfulness and wisdom, rather than letting it pull the mind down into anguish or depression or sadness. It can be the same with other things, like relationships to people. Maybe there's somebody you have difficulties with. They don't listen to you, or you can't cooperate together very well in the family or at work. But after a year of practicing mindfulness meditation, maybe cultivating metta, loving kindness, reflecting on impermanence, understanding what you can influence in the world and what you can't influence. Perhaps you change your attitude to that relationship with that person. Just accept them more for the way they are, and not trying to change them so much and not reacting to them so much. New Year is always a time, we say, of forgiveness and then renewal, moving on. And if you bring up mindfulness and you become more aware of the suffering of holding on to anger, then forgiveness makes more sense. Not just as an idea in your thinking, but also as an emotional thing. And when you forgive, the anger is no longer coming up so strongly. It fades out. Maybe it fades out completely. You still might remember past incidents, past things that happen, but the mind no longer reacts with suffering. It just knows it's just a memory. Another aspect of practicing meditation over time is because you see the difference between mind and body, nama and rupa, you also get to see how there's also a difference between what is it called, the intellect, sort of basic understanding of things, knowledge of things, but then the emotional side of us. When we practice Dhamma, it's usually the intellect that understands first. Understand everything is impermanent, everything is not self, good karma, bad karma. We understand the ideas and the words, the language, but we don't yet understand deeply with the emotions. But as you practice more mindfulness and develop more calm, samadhi, the emotions start to balance. We're much more in touch with the seat of our emotions, or the root of our emotions, which tends to be the heart area. You notice when you have a strong emotional reaction to something, it starts in the heart. Anger, fear, anxiety, love, lust. And it's beginning or triggered with a feeling, and then the thoughts take over. And much of the time we're just trying to sort out on the level of thought, understand intellectually what's going on, and that is important, but it's not yet getting to the base of the emotions, the citta, whereas mindfulness and samadhi is. This is why we have this problem. You know the Dhamma, that a certain way of thinking or acting is bad karma, another way is good karma, but you can't yet do it. Or you have the idea, you know something is impermanent, but you can't yet let go. You haven't really seen impermanence on the emotional level, or understood it on the emotional level. It's something you can look back at and say, oh yeah, I know anger is impermanent. It's not self, but it still comes up and it still hurts. Sometimes you hear Buddhists say that. I know it's impermanent, but I'm still angry. Which means you don't know deep down, doesn't it? It means you know with your memory and the intellect. It's a thought, it's a feeling, it's impermanent. But the actual experience is still there. It hasn't subsided yet. You haven't truly seen it or known it as impermanent. If you keep practicing mindfulness, you become much quicker to see the process of cause and effect, how when something triggers anger, you see what's going on. There's the seeing or the memory or the hearing of the words, and the feeling follows. Some tension, some pain, some stress in the body perhaps, and then the negative thoughts flow on, fed by craving and attachment. The more mindful you are, the quicker you notice all that and observe it. And you also can let go. So letting go maybe on the first level is just the intellect. You give up thinking those thoughts, you become clear, oh, these thoughts are just causing me more pain, making the whole thing last longer, kind of creating a bigger story, making the sense of self in this anger or this pain, this suffering bigger, more real, kind of embellishing it, filling in all the details. You might see that quite quickly as you become mindful, but you've still got the feeling left to deal with. But as you let go of the mental chatter, then you can become much more mindful, centered around the feeling of anger, sadness, or lustful desire. And you can again know, oh, this is just a feeling. Be a feeling of discontent, which is prompting all the thinking, and maybe even prompt you to do things. That's what craving and attachment does. It makes the mind move, and then we use the body to follow that movement, to do things, to get rid of things we don't like, don't want. But as we practice mindfulness, we can just know the feeling and see it as a cause of suffering when you are attached to it with craving. And then you can say, oh, no, just let it go. So you're not reinforcing the feeling. The feeling is the result of karma. You felt like that before, you've thought like that before, this situation will have come up before, maybe billions of times, billions of lifetimes, who knows? But now you're sending the mind in the opposite direction, the direction of Dhamma, establishing mindfulness, keeping precepts, and letting go of the sense of self that wants to do things, react to things, cultivating the quality of just knowing. And with mindfulness you relax, so even if you have painful feelings, you're not creating more stress out of them. You're meeting them with a relaxed awareness that allows them to pass quicker. And you also have the clarity that there's plenty in the world that you can't affect or change or control. But you realize the most important thing is to become aware of your own five khandhas, your own body, your own mind, your own feelings, and how you react to all of that. That much you can control and know and do something about. And bringing up mindfulness, investigating the Dhamma, and these are the first two factors of enlightenment, bojjhanga. These are also making karma, but now it's making karma in the way for the ending of karma, the reduction of craving and attachment. So we call this the path. When mindfulness is there and we are investigating the Dhamma, we can really know feelings, emotions as impermanent, not self. You let go. That letting go means the mind is more peaceful, it's relaxed, content. So if you let go, it means you're happy enough to let go. You don't need anything more to be happy, other than the Dhamma of mindfulness, wisdom, right view. So all these other factors of enlightenment arise. Piti, rapture, passaddhi, tranquility, samadhi, stillness of mind, and ultimately upekkha, equanimity. You'll see when mindfulness is really good, really continuous, there's an evenness of mind, even if the world around you is not particularly quiet or still, or even if your own karma coming up in your body or in your memories and thoughts is still not still and quiet, but there's an evenness that meets all this resultant karma. The important thing is with equanimity is we're not creating more delusion and attachment. We're receiving the results of old karma, but not going with the way of craving and attachment. So like at the end of the year today, we can reflect on the last year that's passed, whatever you can remember of it, whatever you've learned from it, and use that with equanimity to understand karma, and maybe set your mind to make for the next year more good karma, sila, samadhi, panya, to accept what's been done is done, so we have to accept the results of our old karma, but not to make more new karma that will cause us suffering or cause others suffering. And have the equanimity to maintain that, even in the face of some of the difficulties of life, getting old, getting sick, going to work, living in the world, meeting many different people, different conditions. So I'll leave you with these reflections this morning, and can use the last part of the session to practice some more mindfulness.